The outrage over airport pat-downs as some Americans are calling sexual harassment continues. Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano responded to that outrage earlier today. Now, the TSA announced that airline pilots will be exempt from some physical security checks if they are traveling in uniform or on business. But horror stories about invasive and inappropriate searches taking place all across the country continue to surface, from a Grand Rapids woman who claims a violent pat-down led a TSA official up her skirt and left her in tears, to a Chicago woman who compared her experience at the airport security checkpoint to a full-fledged sexual assault. Well, one administration official emerged to defend all of this. Your Vice President Joe Biden, his wife, also Dr. Jill Biden, chimed in as well. Take a look.
I understand people's frustration, but unless there's a new technology that comes along pretty quickly, I think it's a necessary policy. I think it will have the effect of saving lives.
We're fighting, terrorism it's a threat, and I think Americans should, they should realize it and put up with it.
Oh, we should put up with it. Now, left out of this discussion by the administration is the reality that we have another alternative, profiling. So what's the best option? Joining me now with analysis are the Chief Counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow. Renowned feminist attorney Gloria Allred is back with us. Gloria, there's a story about a woman, 32-year flight attendant, that had cancer, breast cancer, had a prosthetic breast, and literally was forced to remove it. And does that outrage you?
Well, I think we have to be reasonable, but people do need to be searched. Some searches are unreasonable,
I didn't ask you that.
I
give you a specific example. You need to answer the question.
Okay. Well, the point is we have to have
yes
a degree of reasonableness.
Gloria, stop it. Yes
I can't
or no?
tell you whether it was. I can't tell you whether it was reasonable under the circumstances. I can tell you that I challenged the TSA on the removal of nipple rings.
She is a 32-year flight attendant.
Removing a nipple ring was not reasonable because no nipple ring is going to be a safety risk.
It's a prosthetic breast after she had breast cancer. She worked for the same airlines for 28 years.
Well, I will say this, though. I think safety is important. We're going to have to balance privacy with safety.
No one's saying safety
and that is what really matters.
No, here, Sean, let me give you another horror story. I just left a rehearsal dinner for my nephew's getting married. My cousin came in. He has a brace on his leg. Do you know the TSA agent, after x-raying him for 7 different times on that leg, after he explained what it is and showed it to him, had him stand on his leg, that one leg, while they dealt with the other. This is the absurdity. You know what the problem is? TSA right now is institutionally incapable of implementing a strategy that's going to protect the country, because by the time they're at the terrorists is, so to speak, at the gate. And I'm surprised Gloria is defending this at all, because the reality is this. There are intelligence mechanisms in place in other countries that could be utilized here. Israel does a phenomenal job of this, that would give us the intelligence of who the passenger is before. And you know what it's called? Yes, it is called profiling. Every crime or a crime that's about to take place, you profile. You find out who's the likely suspect, what they might do, what their motives are, who they associate with. Why is it so politically incorrect on national security, when we know they're still trying to use airplanes, to not get every piece of information we have and utilize that, rather than groping women and men, for that matter, on their way through the gate?
Gloria Allred, do you support profiling?
Well, I support profiling, but not racial profiling. And I don't support racial profiling because I don't think it leads to a safer flight.
Let me give you an example.
Airline.
Let me give you a hypothetical.
Said racial profiling.
Let me give you a hypothetical. Should we spend a lot of time on a 90-year-old grandmother who you could check her records, travels once a year to Florida, has for the last 20 years to see her children and grandchildren at Christmas time, and lives in the same house for 50 years? Does she deserve the same amount of scrutiny as a 19-year-old exchange student from Yemen?
Well, all I can say is this. Look,
how about answering the question?
The answer is of course not.
Sean, if the terrorists know, I'm answering it. If the terrorists know that certain people will not be searched, like 90-year-old grandmothers, then maybe they're going to find a 90-year-old grandmother to attach a bomb to, because they know that person will get through security. I don't want to be on a plane.
Find out who the 90-year-old grandmother is.
With a bomb.
You know, here's the problem. Sean, this is the problem. And interestingly, the ACLU today, which I guess Gloria is in opposition to the ACLU today, came out objecting to this whole approach. Here's the problem. The chances of the 90-year-old grandmother being the problem, about zero. But let's say you're right, Gloria, that there was this attempt to use 90-year-old grandmothers. No one's saying don't have them go through devices, scanning devices, but not groping them, not the scanning devices that show people. Basically, it's a full exposure nudity. And let me go another step further. There are scanning devices available right now that simply show the outside profile of the person and where the suspected issue might be. It may be on a side, it may be on a leg, and they check that area out. That makes sense. But you know what else makes sense? Share information so we know who's on the aircraft and where
Gloria,
they're from.
I have another. You're a renowned feminist, Gloria. You used to be, if I remember correctly, with Now in California, correct?
That's correct. I used to be president of the LA chapter.
We've got pictures. We can put them up here. Look at this. The guy in this picture has his hand on the guy's junk, to quote this John Tiny, whatever his name is. We got this woman right there, right on her breast. Her breasts are being touched and felt. You got another woman going down the pants of this woman in this picture. Is that acceptable to you?
Well, I actually just went through both a scan and a pat-down.
Did they grope you? Did they touch your body parts?
Yeah, they did. It was the first time anybody touched them in a long time, and frankly, I liked it. But having said that, it is not a sexual assault. We have to make some compromises.
That is way too much information.
You know what? It's called stupid. It's called stupid. You know what this is? Ridiculous, Sean. The idea that we're going to this level, and listen, I am in favor of aggressive techniques to block terrorists from getting on aircrafts, because we know they want to use aircrafts. But let's start using technology in our head and put in place systems that work. But right now, TSA is incapable of doing it.
Well, here's what I don't want. I don't want sex discrimination, and most flight attendants are females, and most pilots are males.
Hey, Gloria Allred, you ought to be... Wait a minute, Gloria.
Exception for pilots, but not for flight attendants, is wrong.
You ought to be championing that any woman that's worked for an airline for 28 years that has had breast cancer, has a prosthetic breast, the fact that they would make her remove that sounds like a lawsuit that Gloria Allred would champion. What happened?
I would think so.
Well, I'd have to know what all the facts are, but all I can say is there has to be some reasonable discretion, but on the other hand,
Gloria, why are you defending this? Why can't we just agree this is ridiculous? Put in place profiling that makes sense. Why are you defending this? This is indefensible.
She can't.
I don't think there should be hysteria about what's going on with the TSA at the airport.
Gloria,
I
really appreciate you sharing
their body parts grabbed.
I really appreciate you sharing your first intimate experience in a long time, but I don't think most Americans would like to go through that. I think I speak for a lot of people.
I don't know. I don't think a poll's been done on what most Americans are willing to do to be safe on an aircraft.
They want to be safe, and they want to use intelligent devices. That's what they want.
If we follow the Israeli model, as Jay pointed out, we'd be much safer. All right, we got to run. Thank you both for being with us.